In the still of the night, I think of you.
Front was made of lace, so her whole breast was seen through the lace. The back was so low cut that she wondered why they even bothered. As if it was not short enough, it had a slit leading to the waist on one side. She walked to the mirror and looked at herself. Suddenly she began to laugh. How did? This was Hen's handwork. She was the head designer of the lingerie line. She laughed again. She did not understand how Helen's mind worked. How could one exude so much innocence and sexiness at the same time? One thing was certain though, she thought, looking at the nightgown again. She did not have to do much if she was wearing this to his seduction. Then she heard a faint opening and closing of his door. He was back. It was now or never, Summer, she said to herself. She carefully applied a light makeup, doused herself with her favorite floral perfume, and brushed out her hair. She took a deep breath. You are doing the right thing, Summer. He was the only man in this world with a right to your body, she said out loud to herself, and she was the only woman with the right to his. So with determined footsteps, before she could change her mind, she walked over to the connecting door and opened it. She entered the room and found it empty. She thought she had him coming. Well, okay, Summer, she said to herself as acute disappointment hit her. At least you tried. Shouldn't she be feeling relieved? What might have worked for Mma wouldn't necessarily work for her. Uche had already confessed his love for her before their breakup, so winning his love in their contract marriage would have been a piece of cake. She heaved another disappointed sigh as she turned to go back to her room. Then a thought occurred to her. What if she just crawled into his bed? No seduction needed if he found her in his bed ready and willing. She turned back and stared at the double king-size bed. What was the best thing to do here? What did she have to lose if she shared his bed? Only her heart. She would be lying to herself if she thought she had not already lost that to him. So there she was, contemplating her decision when the bathroom door opened, and he came out of it with a white towel around his waist. They stared at each other, each shocked at first. Suddenly they noticed what each was wearing. He let out a string of colorful curses. He tried, he thought to himself. He tried to respect her wishes. But how was a man supposed to resist his one object of burning need, lust and passion, when she was right in front of him wearing nothing but a flimsy excuse for a night out? Star was in the same dilemma. He only had a towel round his waist. His ripped abs, wide muscular chest, and broad shoulders were naked. She could see droplets of water as they ran down his amazing body, and she suddenly wanted to catch them with her tongue. Oh my goodness, she exclaimed inwardly. Say something seductive. She urged herself again. Her mind was blank. She was lost in the very compelling feelings only he could evoke in her. You what? He said, walking towards her, slowly closing the distance between them. Her first instinct was to take a step back, but she resisted that urge. She was here to seduce him, and she was going to accomplish that, she said to herself bravely. He stopped right in front of her. He was close enough to touch, to run her hands through those powerful, ripped body of his, yet too afraid to do so. What are you doing here, Summer? He whispered, fingering the fragile straps of her delicate attire. Say it, he commanded in a passion-laden voice. Goodness. He wanted to dive in headfirst. He wanted to kiss her, but he did not know where to begin. He wanted to kiss her all over, all at once. He wanted to carry her to the bed and make mindless love to her. He wanted to rip those sexes off her, and at the same time he wanted to take his time and taste her over nothing but sheer silk. But first he wanted her to admit it. Admit that she wanted him, that she was going crazy with the same sizzling obsession and smothering need for him as he was for her. You promised pleasure like I've never known before. She was breathless. He drew her closer to him, and she wrapped her hands around him and tried to kiss him, but he evaded her. I did, but only if you shared my bed. What then do you think I'm doing here? In Helen's ridiculous idea of... She gasped and stopped. He withdrew a little from her and looked at her lingerie and smiled. Perfect. But it doesn't say what you want. He smiled at her devilishly. I want you. I want to make love to you before I go crazy. She blurted out in frustration. What was wrong with the man? Could he not see how much she was burning with passion for him? That was her last thought as she felt the floor tilt. He lifted her off her feet before she could finish her flow of angry thoughts. Gently he led her on the bed. She watched, chest heaving in anticipation and impatience. You are so beautiful. I burned for you. He joined her on the bed. She tried to pull off the lingerie. Not yet. I'll get to it later. He said in a husky voice she did not recognize. I want to take my time. And then he kissed her. There was something different about this kiss. The other times when they had kissed, she had always suspected he held back. He held himself in check. But this time was different. Finally, she knew what it felt like to be kissed by him. By all of him without restraint, limitless, no boundaries. It was a powerful onslaught of feverish emotion, breathless passion, magical promises of pleasures to come. And she melted into him. With every kiss, every nip, every sip he fulfilled his promise, and with every gasp he drew from her, with every pleasure of his mouth and hands, he drove her willing body to heights of pleasure unknown, just like he promised. Stanley watched her sleep. Just a few moments ago, she was in the throes of passion. To his surprise, she had fallen asleep immediately after. Did he tire her out that much? He smiled with arrogant satisfaction, thinking that she passed out from pleasure. He had been with different women in his lifetime, more than he cared to count. But she, with her innocence and shyness, was the best he had ever had. He couldn't remember the last time he lost control over a woman. So much so he would not let her touch him, for fear that it would be over too soon before he fulfilled his promise to her. Was this love? He wasn't sure, but if making love to his wife has taught him anything, it was that he didn't want another, that he wanted her forever, not to report the psychopath threatening them, and that thought was very scary. He felt her stare, and he loosened his hold on her waist, giving her room to move. Then he kissed her shoulders because he couldn't resist. He wanted her again. He didn't know if that was a good idea. She must be sore and needed time, but his body was not reasoning with him on this. Summer woke up, wrapped in the arms of her husband, feeling warm, her body still humming from his ardent caresses. You are awake, he murmured behind her. I passed out? She asked without thinking, and then covered her eyes in mortification. He laughed. As flattering as that sounds, you did not. You fell asleep. Okay, she accepted. She tried to stretch, and he loosened his hold on her a little more. She felt very calm, very restful, very satisfied. She never knew it would be like this. So magical, so elemental. She did not have the words to describe it. He had been gentle at times, very demanding at other times, mostly very domineering. He had drawn her out of her shy inhibitions with his words, asking her at every turn if she wanted more pressure, more attention at a particular spot on her body. And he did not give her the slightest allowance to be shy. She answered him exactly as he asked, because he didn't move on till he got the response he wanted for a particular spot, till he learned the way she loved it best. No wonder she had thought she passed out from unnatural pleasure he caused from her body. It was more like he was bathing her in liquid fire. He did more of commanding and demanding for the answers than asking, and she loved it, his gentleness as well as his roughness. his domineering ways as well as the selfless way he has crossed her body. No, he did not disappoint her. Why did you not tell me? He got into her thoughts. She knew what he was referring to, but she pretended ignorance, hoping he would stop. Tell you what, he turned her to face him. She looked into his eyes and tried to look away as she remembered some of the things they had done, the things she had done out of her own volition, but he wouldn't let her. Look at me, he demanded. She slowly opened her eyes to stare at his handsome face. Why didn't you tell me it was your first time? Would you have believed me? He thought about it. Now you know why. Star, you're a very beautiful woman, very smart, and never seemed to lack for male company. It just never felt right with the others. There was always something missing, and you of all people should know that appearances are deceptive. Yeah, and to answer your question, eventually I would have believed you. She nodded, smiling. I owe you more apology. That there at the waterfalls. I've already forgiven and forgotten that. He kissed her, and she burrowed into him, kissing him back feverishly. I understand now why you think I'm a dominant. You lack experience. She sat up shocked. How did you? She covered her face in mirth. I got teased the living daylight out of me by my friends about it. In my defense, I didn't say you are a dominant. I only said I get the 50 Shades of Grey vibes. How in the world do I exude such vibes? The words you use, like punish. You are very commanding and domineering. You like to immobilize me most times when He laughed. I don't think I would enjoy covering you up in leather, tying you up, and beating the living daylight out of you. What I enjoy is being the center of your world when I make love to you. If I have to hold your hand so that you feel every gasp, every moan I draw out of you, so be it. He began kissing her again. His body hadn't won the battle over his mind. At the back of his mind was the knowledge that he was her first love, her first X-rated movie, her first heartbreak, her first lover. He didn't know how to feel about those. He only knew it made him feel responsible for her in ways he did not care to acknowledge, and that scared him more than he cared to admit. They sat at the resort restaurant about to have a late lunch. She had a faraway but satisfied look in her eyes. She smiled happily, thinking of the morning they had shared. After bringing her to feverish pitch more times than she cared to count, he had lifted her in his arms and carried her to the bathroom. The water was warm and scented. She remembered the wide look in her eyes when she saw he was planning to join her in the jacuzzi. She had covered her eyes. Yes, he was her husband in every meaning of that word, but she hadn't seen all of him at once in broad daylight. She heard him laughing softly as he climbed in. Summer, she had said to herself, you are a grown woman in your 30s. Quit acting like a teenager. Then she felt the washcloth on her inner thighs and her eyes shut up. What are you doing? I know how sore you are already, my insatiable wife. We are going to lunch. Can't have my wife walking like an old woman. At that point, she was so mortified she would have welcomed a whirlpool to carry her away. But she had endured his ministration and even enjoyed it. It had gone from aftercare to pleasure-driven. Her husband, she learned, was insatiable, and he was infecting her as well, because she couldn't wait for them to head back to their suite. Do you still think I'm a dominant? She stared at him shocked and shyly looked away. When was he ever going to let that particular blunder of hers go? You know, if that is one of your fantasies, I could. No, it's not, she said too quickly, only to find him laughing at her. Then she smiled. He had done nothing since they arrived but tease and make love to her. The evidence of his ardent and domineering ways. She could still feel in the marks and aches in places on her body she couldn't say out loud. Was he dominant? No. He was just demanding and rough, but so gentle most times. She could feel her body burning up for him again. Not even her aches and soreness could discourage her dark thoughts, and she stared at him wantonly. She was so adorable, he thought. He loved her shyness. He thought it was cute. But mostly he loved how eager and responsive she was when he touched her. She could act shy now, but he only knew how to turn her into a raging mass of fire and flame. He felt like a king, knowing he was the only one who would ever know, feel, and see her come apart like that. He watched her staring at him, and somehow he knew from the fire in her eyes she was flaming up for him again, and he swallowed hard as his body reacted in response. "Hey, Mr. Silver," he said to himself, "you are not a beast. Your wife needs recovery time, and you have not exactly been gentle." So he decided to tease her instead. "Penny for your thoughts?" He smiled at her knowingly. She stopped, shocked and shy, and tried to look normal. "Thinking of my prowess in bed?" She covered his mouth with her hands and looked around to make sure no one had. He laughed, removed her hands and kissed her. "Then don't look at me that way. What would your mother say if I brought you back in a wheelchair?" "Stanley?" He laughed again. "Babe, I see how much you want me in your eyes." She looked away from him. "It's not totally my fault I keep? Fancy meeting you two here?" A sultry voice said beside them before he could finish what he was about to say. And just like that, the moment broke, and the flame engulfing them slowly dissipated. They were shocked to see Betty and two of her sisters. She was wearing the skimpiest bikini Star had ever seen. Star was too shocked to say a word.
In the still of the night, I think of you. My heart beats with every thought of you.